starting? There we go. All right. So looking at function notation. Okay. There's really nothing. Okay. There's really nothing that that is new here. It looks different, but it's not new. Okay. So you guys are used to seeing equations such as like y equals like 3x plus 2, or y equals x squared, or y equals, I don't know, like 4x squared plus 2x plus 3. Those are all equations that you would have seen in the past, okay? Or seen previously, where just y equals something, okay? So all that happens with function notation is we're replacing the y with a f of x or a g of x or something along those lines, okay? So in this case, if we take this equation, we would take this y, and so our original equation would look like this. And if we were using function notation, we would go like this: f bracket x equals x squared. Okay? So I'll write this down here. This means that x, I hate doing, x squared is the function that uses the variable okay? So all that means is like we're going to be plugging numbers into x, and whatever number that we're going to plug in is going to fill in. So f of x, right, is going to fill in for the x spot. Now, it might make more sense if we look here. Now, the letter doesn't really matter, in all honesty. The f or g is just a placeholder. Okay, f of x or g of x. Okay, can be a specific variable amount. Now, for this one here, if we have a height time equation, right? This is the equation, the height at time, okay? So this is height of time function, like setting off a rocket and measuring its height over time. This would be height at t time equals this equation. So the height, time, and this function that uses the variable t. Does this make sense to everyone right now? It's kind of like, okay, do we have a thumbs up or thumbs down, or are we confused in a little bit? So all we've done so far is we replace like this original equation, like we would have saw last year, would have been like height equals -5t squared plus 15t. Okay, but we're just adding in there h bracket t, saying the height at this time equals this. Okay, and we'll work it through as we go through. All right. So I'm going to do this one first. Actually, let's go back up here. Let's use this one. And let's say that I use h at 1, okay? Which would mean, what's the height? We're asking, what's the height at 1 second? Okay? And how we do that, we go h of 1, and then wherever there's a t, we'd replace it with a 1. And then we run the equation from there. 1 squared is 1. 15 times 1 is 15. Negative 5 times 1, negative 5 plus 15. Negative 5 plus 15 is 10. So the height at 1 second is 10 meters, or whatever the equation would be. Okay, I mean the measurement would be meters or feet or whatever it was. Okay. So for this one here, g in this case is just the equation. So we're using this equation here, g of x, but we're going to replace the x with a 5. So g of 5 equals 4 times 5 minus 5. Okay. So that 4 times 5 is 20 minus 5, and 20 minus 5 is 15. Okay. How do we understand that right now? Does that make sense? Thumbs up or thumbs down? It doesn't make sense of what I just did. Farley, your thumbs up? All right. Now this one here is a little different. This one's kind of funny in one sense, different, where it's a smiley face. That just means we're going to replace, oh my God, I didn't think this through. I can't draw. That's a smiley face, the worst smiley face ever. And we're just going to replace wherever the x is with a smiley face. It's not mathematical, it's just where do you put it? Okay. Now here's a tough one. Okay, and this might be too, let's go back, actually, let's come back to that one. H here, okay? We're going to use this equation, in this case, h of heart, right? So instead, where the x's are, we're going to put hearts. So that would be h of a heart, and I am the worst person ever to draw. Oops, that's a minus. Okay, and that's all I go for there. But for h of negative 1, I'd plug in the negative 1 into the equation. So h of negative 1, I'd replace all the x's with negative 1s. One plus 2 plus 3 . Okay. Does that make sense right now for people? I want you to figure out this answer for me and type it in chat. Let's go g of 2. Okay. Can you guys do g of 2 for me? And once you have that answer, type it in chat for me. So we're trying to solve this one right now using this equation. So you can do the exact same thing I did here, g of 2. Don't worry about this right now. Okay. Okay, there seems to be a consensus of 3, which I agree with. So that would be 4 times 2 minus 5. That would equal 8 minus 5, which equals 3. Perfect. Now let's try this one. This one is telling you, if we just concentrate on the middle part here, it's telling you g of 5, okay? Luckily, we already did g of 5 here, okay? We'll keep pressing this game. I'll do another one down below, okay? So this here is, it starts with the g of 5. So if I just put brackets in here and do g of 5, so I go 4 times 5 minus 5, that's the bracket part. And what's it telling me to multiply it by the outside? It's telling me to multiply it by 2. All right, 4 times 5 is 20, minus 5. That is 15. 20 minus 5 is 15. And then I go 2 times 15 equals 30. And there'd be my answer for that one. That's like a level, that's like a level 4 question there. All right. Let's try this one again. I'm going to give you a different number for this one. Let's erase that one right now. Let's go. Give me h of 2 using this equation. I'll write down that equation here. Okay. You guys run that for me and tell me what you get. What do you get h of 2 to equal? Anyone have the answer this time? So Farley and Riley got 3 so far. Good. So that means we're going to replace all these numbers with 2's. Oops. Two times 2 plus 3, which equals 4 minus 4 plus 3, which would equal 3. Good. Now, can we do this one? I'm going to leave you for about 30 seconds to see if you can write down. I'll scroll up here because these two questions are about the same, and see if you can get it set up for me, okay, before I start.
Wait, is that 3h0? What is that?
It's 3 bracket h to the 0. Just like this one up here was 2 bracket g to the 5.
Oh, okay.
So I'll give you a hint here. There's the line previous to this one. Okay. So that would mean 3h to the 0 would equal the same as saying 3 times x squared minus 2x plus 3. And then I would plug in my 0 for all my x's. Okay, Gabe, we only have like 20 minutes left to get through this. So then I would figure out my answer in the bracket. So that would be 0 minus 2 times 0 is 0 plus 3, which equals 3 times 3, which would equal 9. Right? Remember, we have to do the 3 times 3 after. Inside the bracket would be 3, you're right, Dominic? But after I simplify, after I collect my terms here, that's just 3 inside the bracket. Ben is currently studying, Gabriel. All right, so here's another one to look at here. Before, we had the number inside the bracket. Okay? Those ones are tough ones. We'll practice some more before we get to those. Okay? Before, we always had the number inside the bracket. But this time, I'm telling you the answer is 2. What's x? Okay, so if I were to rewrite this equation out here, I would write p of x equals 3x plus 5, right? I just wrote this out and brought it down there. Okay? But if p of x equals 2, that means I can replace this here, right, with this. So actually 2 equals 3x plus 5. Does that make sense what I just did there? Did I lose anyone?
So you just put
Thumbs
the
up.
2 on this. You just put the 2 underneath.
No, the 2 replaced this part. Because p of x equals 2, right? I just
put
replaced
2 instead.
2 instead.
Okay, that's not that bad.
Wait, so that mean for B, it'd be 0 equals 3x minus 5, plus 5, sorry?
Correct. But now we have to solve it. We have
Yeah.
to solve for x here, right? So if we remember how to rearrange our equation, we're going to move this 5 over. That 5 was a positive on this side, so it becomes a
Negative.
minus. Good. 2 minus 5 is minus 3 equals 3x. And then we get down to here and we divide both sides by 3. So x in this case, now what's asking is what x would I put in there to make it equal to 2? And the x that I could put in that equation to make it equal to 2 would be negative 1. Okay, does that make sense? Kind of pulling back into our algebra skills a little bit. So I'm going to set this one up for you, and then I want you to try to solve it for me. Although this one you're going to get a fraction, which isn't a bad thing. So if we think about it here, p of x equals 3x plus 5. Then we're going to place the 0 goes here, 3x plus 5. Then I want you to try to solve that for me. Okay?
For the division part, would it be divided by 3 or divided by negative 5?
What do you think?
I don't know. So I'm asking you.
I know.
Okay, I'll find out.
Well, think about it. What is changing sides? The 3 or the 5?
Yeah, the 5.
The 5 already changed and became a negative 5.
Oh, you meant before. My bad.
Oh. So we move this over. This is the same as minusing 5 from this side and minusing 5 from that side. And then we need to divide by the coefficient. So we get divide by 3, divide by 3, negative 5 divided by 3 equals x.
Yeah, so it would just be like 1.6 repetitive.
Leave it as a fraction.
Okay.
Fractions aren't a bad thing. Okay, and this last one, same thing, right? P of x equals 3x plus 5. And we're going to replace this side with negative 4. Right? For this right now, Abigail, leave it as a fraction. Okay. I can teach you how to use your fraction button on your calculator as well, once we get that down. But generally, fractions are more exact than decimal places.
Mr. O, what kind of pizza should I get when I go, though?
We'll worry about that after.
Okay.
You're half right, Riley. You're missing one thing on that answer. Abigail's got it. So bring this over, it becomes a negative. Then we divide by the coefficient. So negative 3 equals x. All right. That's the hard part. Those are the harder questions. Okay. Here's an easy question for you. There we go. So, what information do you have in this? Remember, the function is f of x equals x squared. What information do you have right here?
Aren't they basically just giving you x each time?
Very good. They're giving me the x. That's my x value. Right? So it's asking, what's the value when x is 2? Before, we would substitute 2 into the equation. But now, since we have a graph, we could just go over to 2, 1, 2. So there is x equals 2. There's like a, right? X equals 2. And we just go up until we hit the graph. And we take a look, and what's our y value? 4. Does that make sense to you guys? So we go to the x value. It's giving us our x, so we just go over to where it says to go to. We go up, Then whenever we hit that, we figure out what the y value is there. I want you guys to write the answer for B in the chat. Okay. All right. So, Haley got it. And Kovacs got it. There we go. So we're looking for -1. So we're going to go over along our x value to -1, which is right here. Right? There's -1. Then we're going to go up until we hit our line, and then we go over to figure out what our y value is. And our y value there is 1. Okay. Do we see that? Now what's f of 0? You guys figure out f of 0 for me. Good. So 0 happens right here. Do we have to go anywhere to find it? No, because it's 0 and 0. Now for this last one, D. What's it giving you in D here? Before it was giving our x value. What's it giving this time? It's giving us the answer. Good, it's giving us the y value. So we're going to do the exact opposite thing for this one. Let's go with light blue for this one, right?
Wait, so basically, would you just go up and then go to the line?
We go left and right.
Yeah.
So the value here, it could be 3 if we went all the way down, right? Or it could be
-3.
-3. So the answer is there is 3 and -3. Okay, does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
It's kind of a lot easier this way. You just look at, okay, I'm not plugging everything in. I just go look at it.
It's so much easier that way because you just go to the line and then go down, and then there's
Yeah.
your answer.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, you guys do the very last one for me. Type in your answer or answers in the chat for this one here. I don't know about you, but I love that I have so many colors. Good, 1 and -1, right? So we go up to 1, then we go over, hit our lines, and then go down. So we 1 and -1. Good. Okay. So let's use function notation in like a real world problem. Okay. So the relationship between selling price of sunglasses and the revenue it represents is represented by the function RS. So revenue, S is sale price, equals -10s squared plus 800s plus 120. Okay. the graph of the function is shown here. So you can answer this question two ways. Determine the revenue when the selling price is $10. Can someone give me one way to find that answer right now?
Wouldn't it be R in brackets 10 equals to negative 10, and then
Good. So R is
yeah, just keep going with the replacements with S.
good. Oops. So this is one way to do it, right? So the revenue when we sell it for $10, remember the S stands for selling price, right? Is this. So then we could go through and replace everything that's an S with the number 10. Now this is where I come back to that, where having a nice calculator actually helps you. Because if you have a nice calculator, you could type in that whole equation just like it's written down. 800 bracket 10 plus 120. Do you guys see that? How I could write that whole equation just how it is there and just press equal. And there's my answer. 7120. So the revenue at $10 would be $7,120. I can type that into my calculator straight away. Okay. Are we thumbs up for understanding that part? We understand what happened? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle. I haven't heard from Olivia in a long time. Not Mueller, the same Vito. Good. Oh, who put the angry face on Logan?
Screw this, man. I'm just gonna use Photomath.
Okay, what's another way to answer that question? So we did one way. I expect Dominic to know how to answer the question another way.
What do you mean?
I expect you to know the other way. You're super excited when we did this last question, how easy it was.
Oh, true. The opposite way.
Which is what?
You go up.
Go up where?
In the middle.
Not middle, but at
Oh, at
10.
Yeah, at 10.
At 10, I go up until I hit the graph, and then I go over, right?
7,000.
Yeah, so that would give me approximately 7,000, right?
Oh,
and
okay,
those two things are about equal, right?
I get it.
So you could do it the algebraic way, but if you have the graph, you could do it visually. So here's my question here. What does this statement mean right here? If I say R bracket 20 equals $12,120. What does that mean? Don't say it outside. Don't say it, Riley. I want you to type in chat. What would that mean? What does that statement mean? And don't. Okay, you're halfway there, Riley. No one's allowed to press enter right now. Don't press enter, Mackenzie Kovacs. Don't press enter. Okay, I want you to write. No, who's pressing enter right now? Shush. Stop putting stuff in chat. Thank you, Jackson. I want you to write your answer in, and when I say go, that's when you'll press enter, and we'll get everyone's answer at the same time. Okay? And Riley was halfway there with his answer. Okay, I'm looking for something more specific. Okay? What does the statement R20, R bracket 20 equals $12,120 mean? Okay, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds or so before everyone kind of gives us my answers at the same time. Okay, so on the count of 5, we'll all press enter, and we'll see what everyone's got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press enter. Good. I really like Olivia and Yosan's answer right off the bat. So if I read Olivia's, when the selling price is $20, the revenue will be $12,120. So when you sell sunglasses for $20 each, the revenue you're going to get is that. Okay. Most people are right on the, like right around there. Okay. Total revenue C 20. Yep. Good. Not how many buyers Kovats, right? But that's a profit. But you're right there. Good. Yosan had it there as well. Good. And Riley, you wrote yours more mathematically instead of with words. Good. Do we understand that language for everyone? Or if we understand that thought, can we see that? Okay, for the next question, we're going to do the same thing. Oh, that's no problem. I understand the gist of it, Yosan. Yep. So this one here, we're going to do the same thing. Write it in chat, but do not press enter to tell me. And I'll zoom in on the chat. I'll zoom in here. Revenue 16,120. So my question for you is, what was the question? Oh, what's the selling price when you have a revenue of 16,120? Right? What's the revenue if you have a what's the selling price if your revenue is 16,120? Okay. Okay, everyone press enter right now. I want to see what your answers are. What's your selling price if that's your revenue? Switch your wording around, Dominic. You have it exactly right, but your wording is opposite. Good, Riley. Yeah. So the selling price is $40 when the revenue is $16,000. Good. Let me write the answer in here. That way people can come back and look at it. It makes more sense. And this down here would be good. So let's take a look at our homework. Make sure I touched on everything I need to. Oops. So we're down here. So we're evaluating these as such. Evaluate these, good. Good. Let's work from the graph. These ones are backwards. Oh, let's do this one here first, okay? I'll go back and I'll do one more example. And we're all done the teaching aspect of it. So let's say I had h of x equals 3x and g of x equals x squared. Okay? Let's say I have these two equations. And I want g bracket h of 2. Okay? So there's my equation I want. Now let's go backwards. What happened when I did this? What did we do here? Well, I had 3 bracket h of 2. What would we do here? Does anyone remember? It's way back up here, right here. Okay. So in this one, what we do is we would plug in, it would be 3 times our h, which would be 3 times 3, which would be 3 times 9, which would be 27. This one here is a little more difficult. Still do the inside part, okay? I'm just going to leave the g out there. We're going to do the inside part, which would be 3 times, oh, this one's 2, right? 3 times 2, which would be 6. And then if I gave you g of 6, that would mean I would put 6 in for the g equation, which would be x squared, which would be 6 squared. Does that make sense to everyone? It's a tough concept to kind of grasp at the very end. That's
Wait.
that's
In the first one you did, when you had the 3 brackets h bracket 2,
yeah.
how did you?
Oh, sorry,
how
I
did you
used it.
turn that into a 3?
I made a mistake. It should have been a 2, which would have been 6, which would have been 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my fault. But essentially the same thing kind of holds true here. The 3 just hangs out until it's ready to use. In this case, this turns into a g of 6 question, like you've done so many times. Like you guys can do that. That's just the very last question on the homework. The very last 2 are like that. Okay? If you can do everything, this question here would be like a 4+ question. We can take them up tomorrow at the very end if you wish. Okay, Mackenzie.
So you want us to do 16 also?
If you can do 16, do it.
Okay.
Okay. Besides that, all your questions there. I'll do my attendance check with you real quick. This is one of the most important questions that we've done all year. We haven't not done all year, but Mackenzie and Kovacs, are you back in the meeting or not? Stay back in. Okay. I may make a new link for tomorrow's meeting and figure out why. Okay. Before you leave, I have one request from everyone. Just let me get rid of this. The QR code up for you. Does anyone use the QR codes instead of the link in the... Give me a second, Olivia. Oh, there's a lot of no's. So as people finish that off, a reminder for homework. Oops, one note. Sync this real quick. Homework-wise, you're doing the bottom section here. So 8, 9, 10, 11, and these questions here, okay? The solutions are at the bottom here. Now I can look through real quick and see who's handed in their homework already. Okay. Make sure, and I'll do T's first. So you can see how she did her homework up and just takes a picture up for me like this. Okay. Let's see what Tessa got done. Right. Just take a picture of it. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Take a picture, and that's how I want you to hand in your homework. So make sure you do. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna make a new meeting for tomorrow for that. Yes, we can. Let me stop my recording here.